It all started with a wedding. I wasn't expecting to meet anyone that night. I had only gone to support a friend, but there he was. Daniel. He had this quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to demand attention. We exchanged small talk, then stories, then laughter that didn't feel forced. It was strange how quickly he made me feel like I mattered. Over the next few months, we spent more time together than apart. He paid attention to little things, how I took my coffee, what made me anxious, and how I needed silence when I felt overwhelmed. It wasn't just romantic gestures, it was emotional presence. My family adored him, especially my mom. She kept saying, "He's the kind of man who builds a home, not just lives in one." Everything felt perfect. No red flags, no gut feelings. Just right. When he proposed 6 months after we met, it didn't feel rushed. It felt inevitable. He planned it at the park where we first sat and talked for hours. I said yes with tears in my eyes and excitement in my voice. For once, I believed I had something good, something lasting. But that night, something shifted. We celebrated with my family. There were toasts, hugs, and the usual laughter, but I noticed my mom go quiet at one point. She excused herself early, claiming a headache. It was subtle, and I tried not to read into it, but it planted a seed. The next few days, her energy changed. She became distant. She smiled too much and asked too little. I chalked it up to her needing time to adjust. Maybe it was just overwhelming, I told myself. But I wasn't the only one sensing it. Daniel asked if everything was okay. I lied, of course. I told him my mom was always a little emotional about big milestones. He bought it, or maybe he just wanted to. One evening, I overheard my mom on the phone. She was in the kitchen. I was walking down the hall, and I stopped when I heard my name.
"She doesn't know," she said.
Her voice trembled. "If she finds out, it'll destroy everything." I stood there, frozen. I couldn't hear who she was talking to, but her tone, it wasn't casual. It was the kind of fear that only lives in secrets. I wanted to confront her right then, but I didn't. Instead, I waited. I needed proof. I needed to know I wasn't imagining it. The next day, I started asking questions in subtle ways.
About the past.
About people I'd never thought to ask about. I got half-truths and nervous smiles. Something was wrong. Something big. And I could feel it closing in around everything I thought was real. The tension at home became impossible to ignore. My mother's eyes dodged mine too often. My father kept changing the subject whenever Daniel's name came up. Something wasn't right, and I was done pretending it was all in my head. I couldn't sleep, so I started staying up late, hoping to catch something, anything. One night, I heard low voices coming from the living room. My parents. I stayed still, listening. "You promised we'd never tell her," my mom whispered.
"They're engaged now," my dad replied.
"She deserves to know before it's too late." My chest tightened. I had no idea what they were talking about, but it was about me. And Daniel. The next day, I went searching. I remembered an old wooden box my mom kept hidden in the back of her closet, covered in scarves. I'd seen it once as a child, told not to touch it. This time, I didn't ask. I opened it. Inside were faded photographs, hospital forms, and a bundle of letters tied together with a red ribbon. My hands shook as I untied them. The first letter was dated 28 years ago. My father's name was signed at the bottom. He wrote to a woman named Carla, apologizing for leaving her, saying he was going to marry someone else, my mother. He also mentioned a child. A son. My heart dropped. I kept reading, each letter confirming the same truth. My father had a child before he met my mother, and no one ever spoke of it. That son was raised by Carla, and my father was never part of his life again. I looked at the birth date. It matched Daniel's exactly. I couldn't breathe. Every part of me screamed no. This couldn't be real. But the evidence sat in my hands. The photos showed Carla holding a baby. A baby with Daniel's eyes. It all made sense now. The unease, the silence, the fear in my parents' voices. I dropped the letters and sat there, numb. I confronted my mother first.
I didn't yell.
I didn't cry. I just asked her, "Is Daniel my half-brother?" She broke instantly. Her face crumbled, as if she'd been holding back a flood for decades. We didn't know it was him, not until we saw him with you, she whispered. We didn't want to believe it. We thought maybe it wasn't. That wasn't good enough. I left the room before I could say something unforgivable. Daniel had to know. I met him the same evening, holding the letters. He read them in silence, his face blank. When he finished, he looked at me, and the first tear fell. I didn't know, he said. I swear to you, I didn't know. Neither of us said the word, but it was there, brother,
Sister.
We'd fallen in love without knowing the truth. And now the truth had shattered everything. Everything after that moment felt like a slow-motion collapse. We sat there for a long time, the weight of silence heavier than any words we could have spoken. I couldn't look Daniel in the eye for more than a second. Every memory we had shared, the kisses, the laughter, the quiet nights where we whispered dreams to each other, all of it now carried a cruel twist. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was betrayal wrapped in bloodlines. Daniel was the one who finally spoke. He said he needed to confirm it with his mother, Carla. He left the next morning, and by evening I got a message. It's true. She told me everything. That was it. No anger. No blame. Just the flat reality we were now both chained to. We were victims of something that wasn't our fault, but that didn't make it easier. I didn't tell anyone I wasn't going through with the engagement. I didn't need to. The ring sat untouched on my dresser, and the glow in my eyes had died. My mom tried to talk to me, but I couldn't hear her without seeing the years of silence and deception. My father didn't even try. He just kept to himself like a man already haunted. It wasn't just about what they hid. It was about the life they let me build on a lie. The worst part was that I still loved Daniel. That didn't disappear with the truth. It lingered like a wound that wouldn't close, raw and open no matter how much time passed. And I knew he felt the same. We had one last conversation in person. We met at the same park where he'd proposed, but now it was different. No flowers, no hope. Just two people torn by fate. He said, "We didn't ask for this. We didn't choose this." I nodded, because there was nothing else to say. He didn't try to hold my hand. We both knew what we had to do. Loving each other any longer would only cause more pain. We said goodbye, not like lovers parting, but like strangers who once knew each other too well. After that, I stopped showing up to family dinners. I couldn't pretend. My world had broken into two parts, before the truth, and after. I questioned everything. Every moment I trusted someone. Every time I believed love was enough. I began to wonder if I was even capable of healing from something like this. And yet, even in that darkness, I started to see clearly. Not about them, but about myself. The truth had ripped me apart, but it also stripped everything down to something real. I couldn't go back. I wouldn't go back. All I could do was face the wreckage, one breath at a time. Months passed, and with them, the chaos settled into silence. I moved out of my parent house and into a small apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The distance gave me space to feel everything I had been avoiding: grief, confusion, shame, and, most of all, anger. Not at Daniel. Never at him. But at the years of silence that had turned two innocent people into collateral damage. I began therapy, quietly, without telling anyone. I needed answers, not from others, but from myself. Why did I keep replaying memories with him, even after the truth? Why did I still crave a version of us that could never exist again? My therapist told me, "Your heart loved before it knew. It's not wrong for that. It just hurts because it was real." Daniel left the city a few weeks later. We didn't meet again, didn't speak. He sent one final message before he left. "I'll always carry you with me, even if the world says I can't." I read it once and never replied. Some words are meant to be held, not answered. Back at home, things were still strained. My mom sent messages. My father tried once to ask how I was. I didn't reply. Forgiveness doesn't come on a deadline. They had their reasons, but reasons don't erase damage. I knew one day I might find space for grace, but not yet. I needed time to rebuild who I was outside of everything they had kept from me. Ironically, it was the pain that made me stronger. I went back to school, picked up new projects, met new people, not romantically, not yet, but friendships. Conversations that had no history, no weight. Just lightness. It reminded me that I could still connect with the world, even after all that had happened. Love became a different concept to me. Not about happy endings or perfect matches, but about truth. About showing up fully, even when it's messy. About never building a life on secrets. I promise myself, whoever I love next, it will be with eyes wide open, heart cautious but not closed. Eventually, I visited Carla, Daniel's mother. She welcomed me kindly, even though we both carried the same ache.
We didn't talk much about him.
We just shared coffee, silence, and a kind of mutual understanding. Her eyes said everything. She had lost a son in one way, and I had lost a future. But we both were trying to move forward. And so I did. Not perfectly, not quickly, but honestly. The story that broke me also shaped me. I still believe in love, but now I also believe in asking questions, in trusting instincts, and in walking away from anything that hides behind silence. A family's secret changed everything for me, but it didn't end me. It forced me to begin again, this time with the truth as my foundation.